Don't get sensitive.
Love+Art equals wellness. Get your chicken wings.
Yeah.
All across America. Oh, shucks now. Let's see what the next version of that song is. Oh, this is the one. Guess what?
Precious MotherLove. Precious MotherLove.
This season, Love+Art equals wellness, the queen of the wings and things. My grandmother invented mambo sauce. Hey, the queen of the wings and things. You think she didn't? Here's proof of it. About in London, Morocco, and Puerto Rico, Mississippi, Cincinnati, and my home DC. They're all doing the same thing. The dance we call the chicken wing. There's something about that spicy stuff.
Come on.
So funky, so hot, knock you off your line. Funky flavor. In Cali, in Philly, and Houston too. From the barbecue to the drive-thru. In Baltimore and Chicago, we gon' do the chicken wing.
Said oop, oop, gone. Y'all stand on up. Come on and do this
All
thing.
right, I'm trying to give some folks a chance to get up in here with me. Well, love and wellness, hard happy hour, precious mother love, season 5. I'm stuck in a little bit of traffic. I am on the highway. I'm about to get to the Beltway. It's not time for evening rush or whatever. You know what? This guy didn't want to let me over. Guess what? I got plenty of room in my lane. I will keep moving forward and not try to get into your lane. Anyway, what are we talking about today? Okay, 420 is coming. And you know what that means. It might as well be Doggone Day or Serious Day, because those are days, that's where they say 420 comes from. It's apparently marijuana comes from the Dogons. They say it. I didn't. They say it. That they brought it to this globe and that they are, it was for us to be able to be in touch with the elevated messages that they would be sending. I also want to talk about the veil today. I want to talk about how since the solar eclipse, how things have been looking, sounding, feeling, all my sensory perceptions. I want to share some things about that. I also want to talk about, well, we'll go over all those things that I talked about, that I have on my, I made some notes. I don't know about reading them on the highway, but let's see what happens. I'm not in a beautiful location yet, but I'm on my way to it, and I'll give you a visual once we get there. So the veil, I would say, have eyes to see can also mean that you can tune, you're able to allow your imagination to expand into what you previously could not perceive. Like you don't know you're seeing it until you're told that you're seeing it, until you know, you don't know till you know. But once you know, you can't unsee it. So I believe I have to go back and reinterpret things so I can see it with a 2020 vision. So when I saw this eclipse, I half of it, up until the halftime, I was, all involved in the game. I was on the field trying to get my best visual view of it. Took a few photos, started getting a headache. I had my mask on. I think I'll use the photo for that when I come, when I can go back and make an edit. But anyway, so I had on the glasses, I had on the mask. Some kind of way I started getting sinus pressure in the middle of my head. Started feeling like I needed a reset, so I laid down. I got the reset once I woke up. But let me say this, while I was asleep, while I took my nap, I began dreaming. Didn't realize that I was going to start a trend at that point, because I don't always dream. I dream often. I dream a lot. I used to dream every day, but now I'm starting to dream every night, and even when I nap. That's like, I never used to do that all the time. Now it's all the time. So since this, eclipse, that day being reset, white balance, black balance, whatever, I reset that day to whatever the new or updated shift would be, so that I could synchronize and move with it as it moved. And that's what I'm sensing and feeling now. Yesterday, I decided to take a step back, from making the plans. But how about if I just start feeling what the plans are? So in my mind, I decided, okay, I know the things I need to do. And the big picture, I got bills to pay. So in the big picture, I'm like, my bills need to be paid. And I've got talents, I've got all this, all these things, these hustles, or these things that I've, been able to build lanes for. I'm a photographer, I'm a poet, I'm a vocalist, I'm an educator, I'm a wellness coach. For years I worked in HR. For years, I was able to do lots of major marketing with major organizations, blah, blah, blah. I got a lot of stuff going on, right? So what I said that to say is that I just said, okay, universe, you know my talents, and I need to be paid easily, quickly, and stacks. So yesterday I said, okay, I'm not making no decisions until I pray on it, or pull a card on it, or meditate on it, or something. I don't want to make the decisions myself. I want spirit to guide me. So I said, okay, I know I got to eat. I know I got to get some gas. And I know I need to make some money. I need to put some money in my pocket. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to go to where I know I can get the best price, since I don't have a whole lot to put out for some food. And while I'm eating my food, I'll go sit in front of one of these wonderful, and this is, me saying, okay, this is how I can see it happening. Spirit, tell me if this is what I need to do. Spirit, I want to make this amount of money today. So how do I need to do it? And so I the first thing I did was go get something to eat. Got to fuel the body, got to be able to have enough energy to do something. While I was sitting there at the grocery store, I got a call from a spiritual partner. That partner and I, as we started having our conversation, it was kind of like a sacred conversation, where we went with it. We went with where we are since the solar eclipse, and things that have been happening energetically. So during that conversation, Spirit said, okay, well, since you're sitting here, why don't you go ahead and put your stuff together? Put it together like you would if you were going to go set up at some huge, gorgeous, wonderful venue. And that is my jewelry. So I set it up, and in my van, like, my display case. And so I decided, after I was finished, putting it all together, so this lady came up and she talked to me, and she wanted an education. So I basically conducted a 20-minute class, right? Didn't buy anything, asked me a bunch of questions about what I had. And I was thinking to myself, did I just waste my time? So, but right after that, she's saying something about this place that's right next door, a soul food vegan place. I was like, okay, that's it. So I'll go sit in front of this soul food vegan place, finish my food, and see what happens. So I sat in front of it. Nothing happened, just got a few looks. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to move to where I can be a little more in the sun and allow my stones to get energized, to get them to be solarized or whatever. And right after I moved, as I was pulling into my space, someone else pulled into the space I was in. That person who pulled into my space ended up being the answer to about 5 different bills, or 5 different questions, or 5 different streams of income. So I decided to line up with the spirit, and the spirit lined it all up for me, because this young lady, she owns a store, she has a business, she has she's into music. She knows some of the same people that I know. We actually recognized each other and knew each other from previous performances. We had a wonderful call. I mean, a wonderful conversation, because everything that she, and they pay off for me. So that is from me paying attention to the shifts, from me tuning into the frequency, to the energy, from me deciding to slow down, take it easy, don't push, don't rush, don't be discouraged, and don't be fretting. Don't worry. Be happy, right? So the veil to me has been thinner and thinner. Let me say, it doesn't take as much work to get through the veil right now. Right now, maybe it's now. Maybe it's between now, the last solar eclipse season, or maybe through till the next eclipse season. I don't know. Maybe because on 420, we're having a planetary parade. There are, I think it's 5 or 6 planets that are lining up, that are ready to show us themselves. It's like a parade of the stars. So let me see. Those planets are Venus, Mercury, Mars, Neptune, and Saturn. So those will be visible in the night sky on 420. And actually, I can tell you later. I know I had written it down, but I'm not going to try to read it right now. But there is a particular direction to look at, and it's around a specific time where you should be able to see the planetary parade. But I want to go back to what I said in the beginning about the Dogons bringing marijuana here. And like I said, the Dogon says that they're owning up to that they were a bringer of the marijuana seed, which has changed tremendously. If you were to have marijuana, let's say you were back in the 70s and you had a joint, you had a nick or whatever, and you smoked a J of that, versus let's say you had a version of what we have now available in our market. So that's like a glass of wine back in the 70s compared to, and I'm not going to say grain alcohol like this comedian did on, I was watching Tyson, Degrassi Titan, what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he was interviewing the pot doctor. And so the pot doctor was telling us about some of the developments from where it used to be, when it was a much simpler time. I mean, now it's like everything, you even know what a sativa or indica, or hybrids, because basically everything's a hybrid now, as far as you don't get any total just sativa or total just indica. There's a version of it, that's got more turned up on one side than the other as far as the effects. But definitely, there's lots more studying going on. The CBD stuff, apparently, okay, so let me start with this. We have cannabinoid receptors in our body, which means, it could mean, it doesn't have to mean, but marijuana is something that we were built for. We were made to incorporate it into our system. But if we already have cannabinoid receptors, where else do we get cannabinoids from? Well, apparently we have we make them. We can get high on our own supply, our own internal production, like the endomorphine, and as a matter of fact, we have what's called an endocannabinoid receptor system. So an endocannabinoid system, which, that's our own cannabinoid system. That's that. There apparently are 2 types, and I'm trying to read this while I'm driving, and we're in a stop and go, very slow traffic. So it says we make 2 types, an Abinoid, anaboid, I think it's anaboid, and then something called 2AG, and then we have these we receive two different types in our brain, but there are other receptors in our body, like in our stomach, and certain, like, okay, and it's funny because we say 420, so I think that 420 has a lot of significance to it, more than we actually might have been paying attention to know about. And let me go ahead and turn this down in case you're hearing it in the background. But yeah, so 420, apparently there's over 400 different types of cannabinoid. It's not a strain. What do they call that? Psychoactive. No. What is it called? Healing and anyway, there's over 400, like 420 types of that they've discovered, the as far as cannabinoids. Okay, and so we have receptors for all that they've seen so far. So the research is not, it's still inconclusive, or a lot of it is still out. The jury is still out, because they've not had, I think, studies that were done previously weren't along the same line as what we're doing now, as far as for the wellness community. Like, it's said to have, CBD is said to have some antipsychosis properties, unlike some of what the THC might do, which at a high volume could induce hallucinations. That to me is those that have maybe some other stuff up in it, that they're talking about. What are those drugs with the P? It's not Percocet. But anyway, they're talking about some narcotics that are deadly if you touch it. I think you know what I'm talking about, the one that I'm talking about. I didn't write that down. But so we being able to peek behind the veil, a lot of it has come, in my case, for me. What I've been able to come up with is, if I were indulging and had a little bit of cannabis in my system, that's when I really noticed that, like, I'm getting downloads. Like, I get them when I'm not indulging, but I also feel that it's an enhancement to be able to get to the inner layer without disturbing too much of the outer layer. As far as, I don't have to be asleep per se. I can just be in a relaxed position. I'm not going to be tuned into some of the external stuff, as much as I'm gonna be introspective. As much as I'm gonna be more introspective about things. So I'm hoping you can hear me. Can somebody type some ones if you can hear me? If you're still there, tell me if you can hear me. And I also wanted to talk about the connection of the Wizard of Oz. Okay, you know how I think I'm not as prepared for the Wizard of Oz conversation as I thought. I'm having to pay more attention to my driving, and it's distracting me a little bit. So I may have to finish this another time, because I see as I'm trying, I want to be safe about this, so I may have to stop and be somewhere else. So let me just talk about some things that can come off the top of my head. Okay, so with the Wizard of Oz, how you got the man behind the veil, and I'm saying that now, with us being more into the wellness portion of this 420, cannabis, marijuana, or whatever. Now that we're more into the healing and wellness part of it, I think that the exploration of the good, what good it does for us. So for wellness purposes, has been more and more in the right column, so that we know that there are some plants and plant-based medications, with medicinal properties that are helpful. Like I said, antipsychosis and anti-anxiety. And apparently, so there are like three main things that 420 is helpful for, and that's for pain, for, what do they call that? Chronic pain, for appetite, munchies, and for anxiety or antipsychosis. But then it's also been said to help children, babies, youths, as an anti-seizure sort of remedy. So, but there's some other things. It seems like, it helps to relieve depression, or, perhaps it helps to relax you when you're having trouble to sleep. I know when I was in my 40s, one of my mother's girlfriends, I told her I was having trouble sleeping. And she said, well, why don't you smoke a joint before you go to bed? So a J and a glass of wine, and I was cool modi for a good while until my sleep patterns began to return. And so that is, to me, that's another helpful wellness way that it would be helpful. I think there's other things that other people, they just don't want to confirm. They don't want to make it too good of a product, because then, all that gateway stuff, they used to tell us, oh, smoking, this is your brain on drugs, and this is, blah, 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 fried eggs in the pan. But, and they also said marijuana was a gateway drug. Well, it is not necessarily a gateway drug, meaning that it will turn you into somebody who wants to go higher and higher and more and more. Some people are just stuck on that level, and that's their thing, or some people never made it past anything else, or maybe drinking is their thing. Whatever the case is, I don't like anything that I can't control myself on, and I'm not going to indulge to any degree. Pretty much, I don't do much in a public way. I'm not. If I do, when I do, it's never something that I have to be around other people to do, because it's for personal reasons. It's not usually for reasons of wanting to be out in public and, looking a specific way and doing a specific thing. I mean, I have come to a place where it's a part of my wellness, and, I do well with it. That's the first time I've ever admitted that kind of thing in a public way. But, I grew up at a time where the hippies, my parents were buppies. And, we had multicultural friends, even though they were in, some cultural groups. We had friends from, because we traveled, they had friends from all over the country and all over the world that would come by and visit, especially when they had a party. Yeah, I grew up in the era where, half the people on my block were growing marijuana, and I would see huge bags of it, meaning big green trash bags of it. I mean, half my block was Jamaican, though. And they had all come over from Jamaica as a group together, and brought out half the block. But yeah, I grew up in a time when people walked down the street smoking, because it wasn't really, I went to movie theaters where they were smoking. I'd go to the Allen Theater on New Hampshire Avenue at the time. And I mean, I went to festival style festivals at the Capitol Center. And it was, if you did not smoke, you walked out with a contact door. Just pulling out some old school words. But yeah, it's a whole different culture today, because we're cooking with it. We're eating. I mean, they had brownies back then, but we were most likely finding, and I never actually had one back then, but I had seen them, and I think they were just putting the marijuana in the brownie. I guess it was effective. I do know what they make now is effective. I think these edible things that we're now being the latest and the greatest in that cuisine, they're very tasty. I'm not that I've done a lot of them or do them often, I'd say maybe in my whole lifetime, I've done maybe about 6 or 7 times of tasting something edible, and they were tasty and effective. Well, all but once, and that I don't know what happened, but a friend of mine also, God rest her soul, she has gone on into her light body, but she had a garden. She had about 7 different plants that were very, very, very thick stems, and she had a lot of fruit off of it. And she actually used it for her daughter. Her daughter had her daughter passed right after she passed, not too long after. But she had a car, not a car accident, an accident where it involved the metro, the subway. And so she did not have legs, and so her mom would run her bath water with CBD oil in it, and she also gave it to her mother. So the grandmother, the daughter, and the mother, all of them were calming themselves down and using the properties of the CBDs, which apparently don't have a high, but have a calming effect. They are received by various cannabinoid receptors, but apparently not the ones in the brain. Yeah. So let's see if we have anything else we want to talk about. Gateway. Okay, so I'm doing a full moon, private full moon, invitation only full moon on the 23rd. That is here in Maryland. It's one of my customers and colleagues has opened his home and would like to incorporate my program, which is a wellness energy based program. So we're going to do the gateway meditation. We're doing singing bowls. We're doing tuning forks. We're doing full fire. We're having drums. But again, this is a private audience. This is an audience of folks who know how to utilize or tap into the energies, the frequencies. This is for people who have some idea about how these things work, or at least tap into for benefit, for the benefit of what their mission is. So I am not reading anything that's on the screen. I would like to be able to, let's see if there's anything else. Oh, I started watching this brother. Ooh, he's talking about he had a near life experience, because he says, it's not near death, it's near life. And so when he went on the other side of it turned him into this love muffin. He just had, from what I see, he reeks the frequency of love. He has a very easygoing way of explaining things. He breaks things down as far as what he experienced. And I have experienced most of the things that he has experienced. The only thing is that when he came back, because it scared the heck out of him, thinking he was about to die. He used to be a fireman. And so he got caught in a fire. He got some inklings or some premonitions before, but he was also sort of leading the conversation and saying, I'm done here. I don't want to be here. Why am I here? What should I be doing? Why am I doing what I'm doing? He's just lost his job, lost his motivation. And so he had a near life experience where he almost died. And when he did have, was exposed to that other, the Fibonacci sequence is in the 5. The first initials of the first 3 letters of my name is 5. That's on the government side. But anyway, well, love and wellness, Ashe family. Thanks for hanging in there. Heart Happy Hour Season 5, getting off the Beltway, perfect timing. Speak to you guys next time. Woo, 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 woo. Do it in London, Morocco,
and Puerto Rico, Mississippi, Cincinnati, and my home DC.
they're all
all doing the same thing. The dance